Matthew and Anna decided to buy an old house in the woods to start a new life. They were young, in love, and full of hope for the future. The house they chose was large and spacious, with large windows and a beautiful veranda, but it looked a bit abandoned and in need of repair. Matthew and Anna decided to undertake repairs themselves to save money. They spent every free moment in the house, engaged in its restoration. Their work progressed slowly but surely, and they began to feel that this was their place on earth. But when they started living in the house, something strange happened. They started hearing strange noises at night. Sometimes it was the sound of someone's footsteps on the roof. Sometimes it was the creaking of doors or windows. But when Matthew checked the house, no one was there. They also started noticing that some of their stuff was starting to disappear. It was little things like keys or coins, but still it bothered them. They thought it was just forgetfulness, but they began to suspect that someone might be breaking into their house. One day, when Matthew was at work, Anna heard some noise from the living room. She thought it was Matthew coming home from work ahead of time, but when she went to check, no one was there. But there was a piece of paper on the table with a strange inscription written on it. The situation was getting worse every day. They began to see shadows that seemed to move for no reason, and heard sounds that they still could not explain. They started arguing and shouting at each other, and their relationship became very tense. When they went on vacation, they hoped it would help them deal with the situation. But when they came back, things got even worse. The house they had been working so hard to repair looked as if no one had entered it for months. The things they left in the house were moved or scattered around the house. They began to notice hand and footprints on the walls, which seemed to be left by blood. In the kitchen, they found an old diary in which it was recorded that the previous owners of the house had been brutally murdered in their bedroom. They began to realize that inexplicable things were happening in the house that scared them. As they were sitting at the table, they heard a voice that seemed to come from another room. They went up to check, but there was no one there. They returned to the living room and found that their door had closed. They started shouting and knocking on the door, but no one answered. They realized that they were stuck in the house, and no one would come to their aid. It was getting scarier by the minute. Their mobile phones didn't work, and their car wouldn't start. They were completely isolated in an old house where unexplained things were happening. They began to hear whispers, voices, and sounds that they had not heard before. They were sure that Dom was alive and that he was going to kill them. When morning came, they decided that they needed to get out of the house. They began to destroy the walls to find a way out. When they finally got out, the house was already in flames. They realized that the house was cursed and that they were the last victims of this curse. They never returned to that house again and told everyone their story so that no one would repeat their mistakes.